Hi, hello. Welcome to Man with a Mentor. I am the man, your host, Matthew Barnard, and you may be wondering what a show called Man with a Mentor may be about. And it's basically about people who know what they want to do with their life, and they just keep going for it until they make it and enjoy living day to day. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Don't hate what you do. If you hate what you're doing every day, you should stop. But not this guy. Today I have Johnny Catalano with me. Here he is.
Yes.
Thank you, Johnny, for coming. And the first thing that I want to say is you have a rock star name.
Thank you.
I just can hear it now, the newest film by Johnny Catalano, and
Yeah.
everyone's rushing to get there because the name is, the selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got skills too.
Thank you. I mean, it's a gift I was given. You know what I mean? I can't take any credit for it. It's just it's nice, to have kind of already a stage name without even having to put any effort towards it.
You were just born and you were like 80% there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but I'm gonna read something about who you are and what you do. And it's Johnny Catalano is a writer, film director, film producer, actor, and director of the Catalano Film Festival. Among other things.
Yeah.
So let's start with kind of three things that are going on right now. So tell me about the Catalano Film Festival, which just had its second year and usually takes place in either mid-February or early March, depending on the calendar and when things are happening.
Right.
But so if you want to find out more, February is the time to do it.
I'd say so. The reason it happened kind of early March this year was kind of more for logistical reasons because I just had a new baby boy in December 1st. So as any new parent knows, that obviously it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get used to kind of that schedule and everything like that. So the intention is always to kind of have it either President's Day weekend or the last weekend in February.
You make money at it, and the importance of regional films, or not just regional films, but just I feel like the world of independent film is kind of it had its renaissance maybe in the 90s and the early 2000s, and it's kind of gone back to $400 million budgets and nothing else can fit in. So I'm when is it going to blossom again?
I mean, I can't necessarily predict that last question, but I can kind of assume that I think it's on its way already to that. Another kind of rebirth, another kind reinvigoration of kind of, the independent film. And I think that people are seeing that these budgets are skyrocketing, they're ballooning, and they're out of control. And a lot of the times, people aren't even going to see the films. Right. I don't want to name any names of the films, but, just recently there's been a few films that were massive budgets and the studios were just here you go. And I think people are starting to get wise to the cynicism of that by these major studios when they're just let's just put out whatever we think people want to see, and we don't care about the film's quality, actually.
Right.
So I think people are, this new generation wants original stories. They want original cinema. They want original films. And with the festival, as far as, the selection goes, the main focus, for anyone not familiar with the festival, it's regional independent cinema. And by regional, I mean primarily the Midwest, because that's kind of where we're located.
Right.
I've had films from Pittsburgh, Ohio, all over Ohio.
Right.
I've been in talks with certain filmmakers for next year in Indiana, and just blossoming out to those other kind of regions of the country. Kentucky was last year. There's a film from Northern Kentucky.
All right.
So I mean, that's the focus. So what I do primarily all year, and the first 2 years were by invite, and I think this next year is going to be much of the same. I do it by invite, but I also do it by, you can send me your film. For anyone making films interested, just reach out to me on, usually the social medias is the best way to reach out to me as far as like sending me your film. Then we can swap like emails after that.
Right. We'll post that information.
Yeah.
Right. Like that.
There it is.
Yeah. It will be there in post.
Well, terrific. So you could reach out to me if you think, you have a short film, that you want to show in front of a live audience. I like to extend the festival to a couple of days rather than just kind of like one long day of a festival. And by that, I mean, I just want to increase the amount of films I can show.
Right.
Previous years, I've shown 7 to 9. This next year, I want to, enter kind of 14 films. That's kind of the goal. Because the more films, the better, in my opinion. And as far as like making the money, it's really, I work at the theater, which it takes place. So luckily, I don't have to deal with massive rental fees or anything like that. So I basically just make all the box office and stuff like that. And it's a nice it's a decent payday for like a passion project.
Right.
So
so it's perfect.
Yeah.
You don't have to rent somewhere and then pray, like, I need to sell 112 tickets.
Right.
Or something,
Right. Yeah, like some theaters like charge like, astronomical prices.
Right.
And I don't really have to concern myself with that. Mainly it's just, all the work. I'm more concerned myself with the work I have to put into each year, which is a lot.
I wanted to ask you one other thing about the Plaza Theatre, because what's your title there?
I'd say manager. I also do, I run the Century of Cinema program. I mean,
are there like always titles available, like the Maltese Falcon or certain thing, or have you like really tried to get something and you can't?
I mean, we definitely have dealt with that. I mean, studios can be interested, or distributors, I should say, and then studios. But most of the time we can get what. So the way we choose them, sometimes I just do some just out of personal want to do it. I did McCabe and Mrs. Miller in February. One of my favorite films. But like,
wait, Warren Beatty? No.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Warren Beatty, Julie Christie, Robert Altman film. It's a Western and it's wonderful.
Right. Does she own a brothel? No.
Yeah.
Is that a different movie?
No, you're right.
Oh,
that's
okay.
the one.
Because I love a movie about a brothel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in the Old West, They had all those all the time. So.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who approach me. And so like, for instance, you could approach me.
Right.
And say like you want to show we showed the Maltese Falcon last year, but maybe you want to show Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Oh, right.
And we'd be like, great, that I could, we do it twice a month, so we do the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of every month.
Okay.
At 7 p.m. And I mean, it's basically just, either by invite or you could approach me with a film you want to present on, and we do it TCM style. You know what I mean? Kind of that, Ben Mankiewicz, old, just a 10 to 15 minute, introduction. To just give some context, not like a long dissertation or anything like that, but still entertain the audience, give them some context.
I'm always amazed at how much like Ben Mankiewicz can tell you in like 2 minutes.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, he's reading it off like a card somewhere, but it's just like, I just like learned 17 things in like 48 seconds. You know, it's just bam. Somebody's writing that stuff.
He's wonderful. And the writers on that are wonderful because they really get down to like the core of like information you probably want to know. Right. But they don't, of course, like I said, not a dissertation. It's still consumable. Like you kind of get a little bit like, you learn, maybe this actor was thought of for the role, but they ended up going with this person. Those are cool little nuggets of information I think film fans are, they love. And that's why it's a staple,
Yeah. I love seeing like certain old movies on big screen. Yeah. And didn't you upgrade? You did something. What was that?
Yeah, so we got a new 4K projector in December, which is really exciting. It's especially if there's I think the McCabe and Mrs. Miller was a 4K restoration, so like it looked amazing on our projector, and we got a new marquee just recently as well. That's digital, and it's really amazing. And most of that came out of just donations, which is wonderful. You know what I mean? You could really tell just the community loves and really supports the theater and wants it to be a working, functioning movie theater. And the last 2 years have been our most successful years since it's been open, since it's reopened in 2015. So I think, a combination of, our century of cinema, the big events like the festival, or like we do like Elvis impersonators, like just concerts, stuff like that. It's those always kill though. Those always do so well. So, I think it's a combination of those things, and the fact that a lot of those small towns, they have their old theaters, but they're always like a bar or something like that.
Right. A lot of them have been gobbled up because they couldn't compete with, the 20 Cineplex monstrosities that were, moved in. Because the it costs as much to have a 10 screen theater as it does a one. In a way, like the overhead is awful or whatever.
No, I mean, you're right about that. I mean, I think that what's beautiful about the theater is that especially for rentals, if you ever want to rent the space, that theater is yours for the day. Which I'm sure you saw with the festival. You know what I mean? It's like when you have the space, it's your space. You're not competing with Doom 2 next door or whatever is the big film right now. So I love it for that reason.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Now let's talk about the third thing, because you already brought it up. Life events. So like in the last 2-3 years, you've gotten married and you had a little baby boy named Louis, who also is gonna have a rock star name. He's 80% there.
80% there.
You should feel proud. Just filling out the name certificate. You were like, he's there. I'm just wondering if those things make more pressure on you as a young person to, the more that your family grows, the more sort of sometimes people scale back their creative pursuits, but some people flip it the other way and they're like, I have all these people around me that love me and want me to succeed, so now I can really go for it because I've got that pack behind me, the wolf pack.
Yeah.
Louis the wolf.
Yeah.
No, so, you know what I mean? So how do you which way? I mean, I hope you think the second way, but some people get off track and then they realize they're 50 and they didn't have the dream that they had when they were 25. And then they go for it. Or where they don't, and they say, it wasn't really what I thought.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned because I think we do kind of sometimes live in those two choice, I guess, binary world, you know what I mean? Where it's there's either this way or there's this way to I guess, as far as it's a mental, the way you can think about things. In this case, it's the second one, because I do have people around me that support me, my wife, my family, you have more. It's not pressure in a bad way. I feel like there's pressure to succeed because you want that for your family. You want to leave behind something for, Louis or whoever else, whatever else, children we end up having together.
Surprise!
Surprise! And not to say I want them to follow my film path necessarily, but I would like to leave some sort of legacy where maybe they could be oh, my dad did something cool.
When did you think, as a young person, you were oh, film, I want to do this? Was it watching films? Was it were you on did you get on set or something and think, I'm going to do this, I can do this? Or how did it come to you, the realization of that as like a career pursuit?
Right. I think for me, it was, of course, it was watching films. That's where the spark was ignited, because I feel like when you're young, you don't even know there's anyone involved in making a film necessarily. You just know that they exist and you watch them, And there were certain films I could point to, I haven't brought this one up a lot, but I'll bring it up now. Last of the Mohicans, the Michael Mann film. I remember a dad watching it and saying, like, the ending on the cliffside with the wonderful music and the very, it's cinema. It's just cinema. You know what I mean? There's no words. Right. It's just the combination of the beautiful, beautiful music with the images and the the pure visceral emotion of that. It's stuck with me, and I think that there's certain scenes from films that just plague me in a good way. Like, they're just in my soul.
And how did you like translate that into like real skills?
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? Like what path did you go on to think, how do I learn this now? Like, I like it, but I got to know more about it.
I mean, it's for me. I wouldn't consider myself a natural at any of the technical stuff necessarily. It just takes a while to learn, editing. It takes a while to learn, cinematography, what you like, what you don't like. And how I translated it was, the first way I did was through writing. I think like that for me, screenwriting, was kind of the first thing I discovered. I might be a little good at this. Maybe not great at this moment, but I'm at least I can do this. And I know, and like the first screenplays I written got like attention at my school. It was like read aloud, at like a symposium is what they called it. One of the only ones selected for that. And that to me was a great kind of, I wouldn't say like, it was a confidence builder, because before then I was just in like those editing classes. I was in those cinematography classes, and just stuff wasn't clicking the way I wanted it to. But then, you learn that you just surround yourself with people that are really, really good at what they do. That's kind of how I see a director. You don't need to necessarily read the music, but can you hear it, and can you communicate it? Right. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about being a director, at least. Right.
No, those are good, like, things for people to think about.
Yeah.
Now, you were in the military. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I had that right.
Yeah. I am. I'm actually still in the National Guard.
Oh, gotcha.
So
was that like an odd thing you did, or would you consider that like an important part of who you are, where you're like, oh, I did that, and like run for your life?
I think it's certainly an important part of who I am. For sure. Like, you can't be in the military and not have it be. I've been in for 9 years. So I've been in since I was 17, and for me, it's taught me all my life lessons, honestly. That. And it teaches you to have thick skin. It teaches you to have a lot of things. I think it's only aided me in my artistic pursuits, because you got to have a lot of the thick skin and a lot of the survival kind of instincts you need in the film industry, because you deal with a lot of criticism. You deal with rejection. We've all, as artists, have got those rejection letters.
Let's see, if you could give anyone advice who wanted to go into film or TV, like, what would that advice be?
Yeah.
Like, school, just practical stuff, getting on set. Like, what's the best place to start? What's the stuff to skip?
Well,
no pressure.
Yeah. I mean, the way I feel, it's like I was just, for an interview I did recently, I said patience. And and I think that's the number one thing you need to patience mixed in with unadulterated hope. I consider myself, and you can ask my wife, you can ask most people, I have a cynical sense of humor. I'm a cynical person, kind of, but deep down, with my life and my career, I am hopeful, almost blindly hopeful, because I think that just being like, oh, I can do this, I can do this variation of what I want to do, like, because obviously what I deeply want to do is be feature film director, but I know that it takes time to get to that point,
Right.
And I'm perfectly okay to that with that, and I'm comfortable with like where I am in my career, and I'm hopeful that every step I'm taking, whether it be the film festival, whether it be writing or whatever it may be, that it's getting me closer and closer to that end goal of being a just working feature film director, but always having, the festival, of course, but just having that patience and knowing that, or when you first get out of, say you're in film school, because that's the circumstance I knew. You get out of film school, you're going to be taking a lot of jobs, or I wouldn't even call them jobs, because half of the ones you do, you don't get paid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just you're sitting on set for like 12 hours and you're just doing it just because like you want to build a resume or something like that.
Right.
So, don't expect to be like somebody just be, okay, we're going to have you direct the next big thing right away, because that's just not.
No.
Be realistic, but also be hopeful.
Right.
I think those are the two things you need.
Right. Well, I appreciate you like giving all that, good advice. And what's next? More film festivals?
Oh, of
more
course.
Writing,
Yeah.
more like, what do you do every day in terms to get ready for the next phase?
Yeah. Next, so I mean, I think that's another thing I'd say. You always have to take it one day at a time. Your career. And so for that, the festival is always, I want it to be annual, and I want to continue it to be annual.
Right.
Because I think it's a really, I think people appreciate it. I think it's a celebration rather than a like weird contest. Even though there are awards, I think there's ultimately the environment that it produces is celebrating.
Right.
So I would I just want to continue that annually.
I appreciate you being here, Johnny Catalano, which I love saying.
Oh, I thank you. I appreciate this, Matt. This is really wonderful. You have such a great space. I'm glad you're doing this. I think this is a great.
Right.
This is just a great outlet for people to.
Now, do you have an
hear.
outlet on social media for your work or films or festival? And do you want to say what that is right now?
Sure. So I want to get a website for the festival in the coming months. So we don't have a website right now, which I'm just not a great website builder. So I'm
tricky.
It's tricky and it's a lot of work. So I want to hire out and get a solid website going. But before then, if you're listening to it before that happens, you can find me on Facebook, Catalano Film Festival, Instagram. And then I have Johnny Catalano. I just have personal Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't use Twitter a lot, but I have one.
Right.
You can just find me on all the social medias, basically.
Right.
I'm there. I'm a public figure, quote unquote, film director. If you want to just reach out, feel free, because I'm always down to network and meet people in the industry, and I think we probably met over social media. So I think social media is kind of great for that,
Right. All right. Thank you, Johnny Catalano, for being here. This is another episode of Man with a Mentor. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye.